I have the honor of introducing our keynote speaker. As many of y'all know, I'm sure you already know who it is. This lady had a lot to do with the history of Omega Delta Phi and was there from day one when we were founded. And as you know, history is very important right now. We've been learning a lot about history. One, just in talking to older brothers and in the project that Dr. Ortiz is working on, our book. And so having her here meant a lot to me and to a lot of other brothers. I know when I started telling people, everyone was getting really hyped and excited just to have the opportunity to meet her. This may be the only opportunity we have, depending on whether or not she wants to stay involved with the organization. But as many of y'all know her as, and her maiden name, Paula Parras, but I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Paula Macon.
Good evening, Omega Delta Phi brothers, family, and friends. My name is Paula Parras Macon. 26 years ago, I was a Texas Tech graduate student advisor. Who took a small part in the founding chapter of 1987. I want to express my sincere gratitude for allowing me to come here and participate with you tonight. It is an honor and a privilege to have been invited to be here. I have been overwhelmed with your hospitality and amazed at the caliber of leadership I see among you. And I am extremely proud on how well Omega Delta Phi is represented across the country. I have to confess that it was only 2 years ago when someone started hitting me up on Facebook. I reported to work, and at about 8:30, I had about 50 friend requests. And at that point, I realized I wasn't for sure who all these people were, and I needed to do some investigative work. Because I had worked as a probation officer and a PSI writer. I started looking at the very first hit I got. That was like at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And the very first thing I saw in that person's list was, I found her. I found Paula Parras. And because I didn't use my maiden name on Facebook, I had been a probation officer in Lubbock, Texas for 3 years and the PSI writer in Austin for 6 years. I didn't always want my clients contacting me. But at that point, I started a relationship with several of you guys. I really prayed about it on what I should do. My husband and I talked about it, and the one thing I realized is if there was anything I could do was at least pray for you guys. And that's the mission I took on when I started accepting you all. Last November, my husband and I met up with Richard, Jennifer, and little Richie in Castroville, Texas, where we were attending a wedding for one of my cousins. And there I got to find out a lot about how much you guys have grown across the nation. So tonight I'd like to share with you a little bit about my own journey in earning a degree and some of the history behind Omega Delta Phi's founding Texas Tech University chapter. I think you will agree that the founding chapter's vision stayed true to its original origin, and that's to help graduate students. But before I can do that, I have to tell you a little bit about myself and how I got there. I grew up in Slayton, Texas, 15 miles southeast of Lubbock. I married the summer after I graduated from high school, had my daughter right before I turned 20, and against my will, I found myself as a single parent 6 months after she was born. As a single parent, I had to decide what I would do and how I would help support how I would support my daughter for the next 18 years of my life. I knew I could go to work as a secretary somewhere making $5 or $6 an hour, or I could step back and sacrifice 4 years of my life to earn a college degree with the opportunity that maybe I can earn a better income within the next few years. I chose to attend college. My vision, and I'm sorry, I left some of this stuff out. I got busy talking here, so I've got to show you some of this stuff here. This is our visit with Richard, Jennifer, and little Richie. This is me here as a single parent. My vision was to better our life with an education. I decided I would give my daughter every opportunity to succeed, and hopefully she would someday realize her own dreams. I didn't think I could ever achieve myself. She had changed my focus in life, and what I had not dreamed for myself, I now dreamed for her. I took my responsibility as a parent seriously, and without any support from her father, I understood life was on. I needed to obtain a degree. I moved into the government housing projects in Lubbock for the summer of 1982. During this entire time, I lived on very limited resources. My daughter went on to the United Way daycare, where she attended daycare, and I started Texas Tech full-time and worked part-time on campus. Every day my neighbors saw me leave and return, while most of them didn't ever have any consistency in their lives. When we sat to visit, we talked about life issues and all that we were experiencing, telling each other our stories on how poor we were and how someone had done us wrong. However, they all knew I was going to school and that I was living sacrificially as a single parent. But I knew the projects would not be my home forever. I didn't want to put any pictures up on the walls. I was not there to stay. On May the 16th, 1987, at the age of 25, dressed in my cap and gown with my daughter by my side, while I was getting in my car, my neighbors asked me where was I going. And I got to tell them I was graduating from Texas Tech that day. On the drive to the graduation ceremony, I was full of emotions. I started to reflect on my education journey. How did I really get here? I started to think about the people and the things that had impacted my life. I thought about my parents, how they migrated to Lubbock to work in the cotton fields, La Pista, cotton pickers, which was no easy task to offer a better way of life for their children. They were my example of hard work and dedication. Even though my mother spoke no English, she stood up for what she believed in, and I was her translator. I was taught to be fearless early on. I thought about how I used to sell bananas up and down the streets of my hometown, Slayton. When my dad brought home the boxes of ripe bananas after he delivered that day on his drive. I would have rather sold ice cream, paletas. I thought about when I was a sixth grader, I became a business contractor with the local Slayton farmers. I used to contract work for my brothers and sisters, my mother and I, and we used to work in the cotton fields during the summer, earning $1 to $1.25 an hour, 8 hours a day. Working the cotton fields and selling bananas taught me to never give up, even though the workload was difficult and sometimes hard. I saw how my mother wanted to help my father financially with the summer work that we did. I recall my teacher, Miss Lumen, who stopped me in the hallway during my junior high years one day when I was acting up. She told me I could be a much better student if I chose to. She told me to quit trying to be silly and focus on my grades. She spoke a positive vision into my life and told me I was a great math student and I would be able to do anything I wanted to do if I stayed focused. That day, I accepted her words. I accepted her vision of me. I was an excellent math student and took advanced classes and enjoyed the challenge of solving problems, math problems at least. I learned the power of communicating positive words towards someone, yet correcting them. I thought about my high school years, how I maintained good grades and participated in sports and worked part-time all 4 years to contribute financially to my family. I learned to be a team player and to sacrifice for others. I thought about my closest friend, Veronica de la Garza, from El Paso, who also came from very little, and went on to realize all the dreams she had set for herself. She was an upperclassman my freshman year. She reached out to encourage me and help integrate me into school, not even knowing who I was. She went on to attend UT Law School. She ended up working at the state capitol for Ann Richards, the governor of Texas, for 4 years, and she went on and she went on to the White House, where she worked for President Clinton's administration for 8 years. I learned how important it is to mentor others with compassion and kindness, and this she did for me. I thought about my friend and co-worker Chris Macon, now my husband of nearly 22 years, how he had stated, when are you graduating from school? I had been around for 4 years and had not mentioned anything about graduating. The very next day I marched over to my college to find out what I needed to do to graduate, even though I had been there for 4 years. I was told I needed to file an intent to graduate papers. Thank you, honey. I learned how important it is. I learned how important it is to ask for directions. If you don't know where you're at, find out what you need to do to get where your dreams are. I thought about Marlene Hernandez, who offered me a job on campus where I worked for 4 years as a college work study. I worked for Youth Student Relations for 4 years, giving campus tours and manning the information booth. She taught me to be a friend. I thought about the suicide death of my brother just a year earlier due to drug addiction. I learned that sometimes life is really hard, but don't ever give up hope. Because if you do, you end up hurting others for the rest of their lives. On my graduation day, I arrived on campus and I was glad my daughter did not know all the thoughts that had surfaced in my mind and in my heart. But I knew someday I would share these stories with her. I met up with my parents and my sister Beatriz, who was sitting with my daughter. As I lined up for the ceremony, I started to cry and march in with my eyes fixed on my daughter, who was waving her arm away, as if we had won something. But we were just coming out of the gate with a chance to move forward. I told myself that once they stopped playing the marching music and I was seated, I would stop the crying. But I never did. I cried the whole 2 hours of the ceremony. I looked around and didn't see anyone else crying. I thought, what's wrong with me? I thought I was tough. I didn't understand why, but then I realized I had not cried during my difficult times the last 5 years. And during one of my most joyful events in my life, my graduation, my heart's joy and my heart's pain decided to do a number on me. I marched up front when it was my turn to cross the stage with my eyes swollen. I came off the stage with tears in my eyes, hoping not to trip or fall. Passing the section seated with master graduates, someone stood up and stopped me. I thought, oh no, someone's trying to console me, and I panicked. I thought, oh, please don't. I'm going to really lose it. But it was my junior high teacher, Miss Ramon, who stood up to congratulate me and shake my hand. My junior high teacher who had challenged me almost 13 years earlier, who had told me I had great math skills, was standing in front of me. She was graduating with her master's, and I was graduating with my bachelor's. My heart had just been touched by God. I witnessed a miracle that day, and I understood more than ever that my graduation and my life was a miracle. God Himself had blessed me. He had orchestrated everything, even down to the handshake. I understood that all the obstacles, the life experience that I had made me into the person I was supposed to be. I had overcome the odds of my situation and had not quit on my daughter or myself. I have to tell you, my daughter, Jessica, graduated with a bachelor's degree in math at the age of 22. She started her master's while teaching undergraduate math classes. She earned her master's in math by the age of 24 and was hired to work for Raytheon for a group of PhD engineers. Look how happy we both are at this point. Her husband has a PhD in math, and he is a math professor at Austin College. They have 3 beautiful children, my grandkids. Today, Jessica is a college math professor in Plano area. She tells me she loves to give back by teaching students solid math skills and helping them accomplish their goals and obtain a college degree. I also have had the honor to raise 2 sons in a 2-parent family household. Chris Twitty is going into his junior year as a mechanical engineering major, and Jonathan, 18 years old, is a rising sophomore pursuing an accounting degree. They both attend NC State in Raleigh, North Carolina. We live in Charlotte. I don't know if you guys all know that. So we live in North Carolina. My husband and I have helped raise my niece Nicole off and on for 8 years. She lives in Texas and is still trying to find her niche in life. So let's go back in time. Let's go back to 1986, the year before I graduated. This is my daughter, the grandkids. The middle child there is my 18-year-old son. It was the fall of 1986, my senior year at Texas Tech. I was approached by the Dean of Students to come in for a job interview as a graduate assistant to help with the minority affairs. The university had been funded on hiring a new minority assistant dean with the dean of students and 2 graduate minority assistants. Even though I was not a grad student, they requested I come in and interview. Dr. Ludwig was head of admissions and over our department in youth student relations, and where I worked with the college work study job that I had on campus. As a student assistant in that office, I gave tours daily and manned the information booth. Dr. Ludwig was familiar with my situation and my endeavors as a student. The job, this is the Dean of Students, and this is where I worked for 4 years. For you who have attended Texas Tech, you know this is the office where undergraduates apply for. You register for classes there. You have the financial aid up in the 3rd office. You have job placement in the 3rd office. You have student counseling in the 2nd office, and then the Dean of Students is on the right wing. And that is where the Dean of Students was, and I actually was invited to come up to the 2nd floor and work in Dean of Students. Even though I was not a graduate assistant, they requested I come in for an interview. Dr. Ludwig was head of admissions and youth student relations. He was familiar with my situation as a student. The job offered double pay. This was truly a welcome opportunity for my financial need as a single parent. In the interview, Dr. Ludwig shared some alarming statistics with me. He stated that Latinos and the Black students were graduating from Texas Tech. He said Texas Tech had 4% Latinos and a student population of 25,000. That meant just a little over 1,000 Latinos attended school there. And out of that 4%, less than 1% ever graduated. He stated the African American student population was less, but averaged more graduates. We had a problem graduating minority students. He went on to say that I was a person he needed to help address these issues with the university, and he was encouraging me to take the job as a graduate student as if I was planning on attending grad school the following school year. I accepted the position and the challenge. In the fall of 1986, Stephanie Brown, the other graduate assistant, and I started to identify our resources on campus for students, minority students. We made a list of objectives to accomplish while hoping to develop programs to address the minority retention issues. We started a minority a monthly newsletter that went out. Our first minority newsletter went out February in 1987. We named it We Care. We listed our objectives. And the newsletter started generating traffic to the programs sponsored by our office. The Dean of Students also had Student Greek Council organization providing outreach services to students such as time management, effective learning trades, and money management classes. Our newsletter also talked about the minority peer counseling services, which was under our office and leadership. It stated that they were there to help the minority students, that they were there to help deal with emotional and social issues. So when you think about that, the emotional and social issues, it's not like someone's going to come to an office and say, I'm having issues. Our issues as minority students is that we didn't always fit in. We needed a group. 2 of the college work study students that worked in this office were Mary Garza, now Mary Fuentes, and Joe Cereces. They started to direct students to our office, Minority Affairs, and the Dean of Students, and we exposed them to the Greek Council outreach services and programs. By the end of the spring semester, the Dean of Students office had registered the first Hispanic sorority, Kappa Delta Chi. And now we had more minority students, leaders involved in our office than ever before, accomplishing some of our goals. After graduation, excuse me, after graduation, I was tempted to just go get a full-time job and start making a living. But I couldn't. I now more than ever knew that I wanted others to cross the stage and get a degree so they would be able to create opportunities for themselves and others. Plus, I had told the dean I would be back. The fall of 1987, I got to witness the sorority Kappa Delta Chi enlist the first charter members. Mary Gatsa being one of them, and I was involved with them as a graduate advisor. Mary and I became close friends, and we continue to be till this day. She was big in organizing things and was very instrumental in helping Kappa Delta Chi bring things together. Since Mary worked with Joe Ceres under Minority Affairs, our Minority Peer Counseling Center, we started hanging out with the same group of friends. While having dinner one evening, Mary and I talked to Joe Ceres about starting the first Hispanic fraternity. We suggested the name would be Omega, the letter of the Greek alphabet, which stands for the end, because the key principle of the organization was about helping the members realize the end goal, to finish their education with a college degree. Delta was to reflect the common ground the fraternity would have with Kappa Delta Chi sorority, and the focus being to encourage and serve one another in the community as advocates for higher education. Phi was the letter Joe selected with no input from Mary and I. One of the Phi meanings is God's grace. I do believe it's been God's grace that brought all things together. You are here today because of God's grace. I know I am. Joe was able to bring 6 other founders together, a group of strong leaders, to represent Omega Delta Phi. I think we've got Zachary and Michael, whose dad is the guy to my right, Eugene, and I think he's been pretty involved with you guys. It's great to have you guys. Great to have all of you. And I became the graduate advisor also for Omega Delta Phi. Both Omega Delta Phi and Kappa Delta Chi began making an impact on campus with minority population and in Lubbock through their community involvement events. After the 1 year of graduate school and work with the Dean of Students, I elected to focus on my professional career beyond the Texas Tech campus. I wanted to move my daughter into a good school district and a better neighborhood because now I could with the education I had. Mary Garza-Fuentes was able to step into my position with the Dean of Students as Minority Affairs Assistant and continue to be very instrumental in seeing both the fraternity and sorority grow. It was collective effort by a few people with a vision to provide a sense of community, unity, and purpose through Omega Delta Phi, and to help each other reach the end goal of earning a degree. Yet today, it's been the continued effort and dedication by each one of you guys in achieving the potential you have. Your continued dedication by men of vision who saw the incredible potential of Omega Delta Phi to achieve the remarkable success that you guys enjoy today. What is your vision of Omega Delta Phi? What will your story be to tell? Thank you for letting me share my story with you and my recollection of how Omega Delta Phi first began. Yes, we all have our own stories about our beginnings, whether in life, in school, or our careers. And all new beginnings come with obstacles to overcome. My challenge to you is to face the obstacles and to move forward. Be a blessing in the lives of those around you. Continue to be men of vision, both personally and in your brotherhood, in your communities, in every aspect of your life. I love you all, and I'm here to shake your hand for the success that you've achieved. Thank you for letting me share my story.
We have our first noise complaints. Paula, thank you so much for opening up. I know you said it was going to be hard to go back and really talk about your personal life. We really appreciate it. I learned some new things today. I think Richard got my face on camera. But thank you so much, and as a small token of our appreciation, we got you a little paper parade with the crest on your name. Richard from Delta also donated this OD5 charm that has OD5 with the silver rose around it.
All right, Richard. All right.
I'm just going to leave that side. At this time, we're going to start our